So today I thought I would talk about something a little bit different, which is some of the really crazy and insane comic books from the 1960s and 1970s. And today I'm going to focus on Brother Power the Geek. And I think the thing about this comic book is that name is hard to forget. And it's quite memorable. Brother Power was intended to be kind of a lot of this information I'm getting from Wikipedia, just to let people know. A Frankenstein type character. It was created by Joe Simon in 1968, and this was his triumphant return back to DC comic books. And it lasted a total of 2 issues. And so I have both issues. Joe Simon would have been, I think, like 55 at this point. So he was getting on in years already. And kind of decided to seize the moment and get in on the kind of the hippie movement. And so we'll get into the comic book a little bit. So Brother Power is basically, well, we have this group of hippies. They are flower power or flower children, and nonviolent, so they're pretty easy to beat up. And they find a place at a tailor's shop, and there's a tailor's dummy up there, and their clothes get all wet, and so they decided to put the clothes on the dummy. And months go by, there's dust, oil, rain, and then it gets struck by lightning. And so this tailor's dummy comes to life and is actually exceedingly strong. He's also kind of impervious to damage. So you could punch him or whatever and doesn't seem to harm him. And so he helps them out. At this point, he's mute, but later on, they do teach him to speak. So the reason he's called Brother Power the Geek, Brother Power is sort of like a hippie thing where they call each other brother, Brother Paul, Brother Nick, and then because of his strength, he becomes Brother Power. Now the geek part, apparently Joe Simon wanted to call him the Freak, but that was nixed because of the connotation with drugs at the time, which is kind of interesting because when the psychedelic circus comes in, they try to put him in the freak show. But if every time you see him called geek, you just replace it with freak, it makes a lot more sense. So it's a weird couple of issues. And the Brother Power gets kidnapped by the psychedelic church, and then we've got these with the Marauders or whatever, which is this biker gang, and they've got the Iron Cross there, and just a lot of weird stuff happening. Again, he's able to use his incredible strength, and now you could see he looks completely different. So he's got better clothes. They've made up his face and done up his hair, and now he's able to speak. And so according to Wikipedia, Joe Simon wanted to create kind of a wandering outcast philosopher, kind of capitalizing on the success of Marvel's Silver Surfer. Unfortunately, DC at the time was quite conservative, and according to Wikipedia, let's see, it was Mort Weisinger who was one of the editors. I believe he was one of the editors. Didn't like the character, didn't like hippies, and just shut the title down. And so supposedly the 2 issues sold okay. They sold decently, but he just didn't like the concept. And shut it down. So kind of like Frankenstein, he's hunted because he's different. And in the end of the first issue, he goes off this bridge down into the water. Oh, and they're sad because he's gone. My issue is not in the greatest of shape, but I just wanted a reader copy I bought this one quite a while ago. And so he's fished out and hung up to dry because they don't realize he's sentient. And this is where it gets really weird. You got this again, kind of a German Nazi type group, but it's different people, and they have this wooden airplane, and they attack another group of hippies. And again, the hippies are always easy to take out because they're just not very good at fighting. But Brother Power comes along and beats them up. And then he gets a job at a factory, and this whole weird thing with this Lord Slide Rule. There's a problem at the factory because there is a an action among it during the assembly line that is taking too long, and so it's slowing everything down. And so Lord Slide Rule is brought in, except the deal is that if he could fix the problem, he basically gets the company, which seems like not a very good deal. But apparently, not only is Brother Power extremely strong, he's also very smart, and so he comes up with a solution that's very simple. And then I guess he moves up in the company, or he moves to another company that makes missiles, and they get protested by these other, well, I guess it's his hippie friends again. And he says, no, we're not creating missiles for war. We're creating missiles for just to launch into space, for space exploration. And in the end, we get another cliffhanger. Well, he's being chased again. We get another cliffhanger where he climbs into the rocket and is blasted off. And so down there it says, will we see the Geek again? We will. We will. Why should we kill off a good thing? Believe us, the Geek will touch down in good time. In good time for the next issue, but you'll never believe where. Well, no more issues came out. Now, that did not mean that was the end of Brother Geek, because DC never likes to just end a character. So he's made other appearances. He was in Neil Gaiman's Swamp Thing, and I guess became considered an elemental. And Grant Morris's Animal Man made some appearances, and so he kind of is on the periphery a little bit. But this is where Brother Power the Geek, and if you've ever heard of Brother Power the Geek, it's hard to forget that name. But this is who he is. He's kind of just a sentient tailor's dummy, brought to life by lightning and oil and dust and the sun and all sorts of things. And he's also highly intelligent. So anyway, that's Brother Power the Geek.